Hey guys, tonight we're stepping straight into the waves of an old story you probably heard in Sunday school. But this time, it's not about a man and a whale. It's about me. My name is Jonah, son of Amittai. And once upon a time, I tried to outrun the voice of God. You've probably never had the Almighty tell you exactly what to do, but trust me, it's not something you can sleep off. The words don't echo, they inhabit you. They vibrate in your bones. When he said, "Arise, go to Nineveh," it wasn't a suggestion, it was an awakening, one I didn't want. So, before you settle in, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up one morning, or maybe it's evening. The sun in Gath Hefer never really tells you which. And the air feels heavier than usual. The world seems to hold its breath. Then that voice comes. Not thunder, not wind, but something gentler and infinitely firmer. It says, "Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry out against it, for their wickedness has come up before me." And right there, your stomach knots. Nineveh, the Assyrians, the people whose armies scorch everything in their path, whose cruelty is legend even among cruel nations. If the Lord had said, "Go to Jerusalem," I'd have packed in a heartbeat. But Nineveh? That's walking straight into the lion's mouth. So, I do what any reasonable prophet would do when told to risk his life for the sake of his enemies. I run. Not metaphorically, literally. Historians still argue whether the port of Joppa was a bustling hub or a quiet fishing town in my day, but I remember the salt air, the gulls circling overhead, and the creak of wooden planks as I boarded a ship headed for Tarshish, the farthest place I could imagine. Maybe Spain, maybe beyond the edges of the map, anywhere God wasn't. There's a strange logic that comes with disobedience. You start believing distance equals safety. That if you just keep moving, the truth won't catch up. I paid the fare, a small fortune, honestly, and climbed aboard, keeping my hood up like a man hiding from his own shadow. The sailors were a mix, Phoenician, traders, a few from Tyre, one or two from Egypt. They talked of spices, winds, and omens. One wore a bronze amulet shaped like Baal's lightning bolt. Another muttered prayers to Yam, god of the sea. I stayed quiet, pretending to be just another merchant. Funny thing, you can run from a command, but not from a conscience. Every time the waves slapped the hull, it felt like a reminder. Every gust of wind whispered, "You're going the wrong way." At night, I couldn't sleep. The deck rocked, the ropes creaked, and my mind replayed that single word, Nineveh. It echoed louder in the silence than it had in the divine voice itself. By dawn, clouds were already gathering. Maybe it was just weather, but the sea had a mood to it. You could feel it thinking. The Phoenicians, seasoned as they were, started glancing nervously at the horizon. I remember gripping the railing, trying to steady myself against the pitch of the ship. Somewhere below deck, a barrel rolled loose, thudding like a heartbeat. It's strange looking back. I thought I was running from God, but I was really running toward the lesson he'd been waiting to teach me. If you've ever run from something you knew you couldn't escape, a responsibility, a truth, a call you didn't want to answer, then maybe you already know that feeling. The quiet panic, the illusion of control, the way your heart tries to argue with the inevitable. And just when you start to think you've gotten away with it, the sky begins to change color. The wind stiffens, the waves whisper your name. You tell yourself it's just coincidence, just bad timing. But deep down, you already know what's coming next.
The first drop of rain feels innocent enough, cold but almost playful. Then another, and another. The sky folds in on itself, turning from silver to bruised purple. The sailors exchange glances that say what none of them dare to voice. The gods are angry. You grip the side of the ship as the first wave crashes over the bow. Salt water fills your mouth, cold as judgment. The ship groans, a living thing suddenly aware of its own fragility. Barrels roll. Someone shouts in Phoenician, another in Egyptian, and suddenly everyone's praying to a different deity, tossing out every name they can think of, like dice on a storm-tossed table. Me? I stay quiet, because I know exactly whose attention we've caught. It's funny, in a dark sort of way, the moment when you realize your private rebellion has gone public. My decision to flee wasn't just between me and God anymore. It had dragged innocent men into chaos. Every pitch of the ship, every thunderclap felt like the world saying, "Jonah, this is on you." Historians still argue whether ancient sailors really believed each storm had a personal cause. Some think it was all superstition. Others claim they read patterns in the wind better than any modern meteorologist. But that night, watching grown men empty their cargo to lighten the load, I can tell you, belief is not a luxury when the sea starts to roar. Lightning flashes, not forked, but wide, sheet-like, painting the sky white for a heartbeat. You see the terror on every face. You hear someone sob. The deck tilts, and you fall hard, scraping your palm on splintered wood. Somewhere behind you, the mast creaks, ropes snapping like tendons. That's when the captain finds you. He's drenched, hair plastered to his forehead, eyes wild with salt and fury. "Sleeper," he yells, "what are you doing? Get up! Call on your God! Maybe he'll notice us!" Sleeper. The word hits like a slap. Truth is, I had tried to sleep, down in the hold, curled among the cargo, hoping unconsciousness could drown out guilt. But there's no sleep in a storm sent to wake you. The crew decides to cast lots, their way of letting fate or the divine decide who's to blame. They gather in a tight circle, rain beating down, muttering their oaths. Pebbles, bones, shells, whatever they used that day, it didn't matter. Every hand moved with desperate precision. When the final lot clattered onto the deck, all eyes turned to me. No need to check twice. The sea had spoken. One of the sailors steps forward, voice trembling. "Tell us, Who are you? What have you done? I don't remember the exact words, but the confession came easily, maybe too easily. I am a Hebrew, I said. I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. And just like that, the fear in their eyes shifts from the storm to me. The sea and the dry land, in that moment the contrast felt cruel. I had chosen the sea, the chaos, over the steady earth of obedience. They ask what they should do. I tell them the truth. Throw me into the sea and it will become calm again. You could hear the disbelief in their silence. Even terrified men don't toss someone overboard lightly. They row harder, trying to save us all, but the storm only grows bigger. The waves tower higher, the ship heaves like a beast in agony, and eventually, when the ropes begin to snap and the prayers run dry, they do what they must. They lift me. One man grabs my arm, another my shoulder. The wind screams, and as they hurl me into the darkness, I can almost hear the storm pause to watch. The water hits like stone, shockingly cold, knocking the breath out of you. You sink fast, flailing, lungs burning, vision narrowing to green and black. For a second, it feels like punishment. Then, strangely, peace. The sea stills, just like that. The waves soften, the wind exhales, and above I can faintly hear the sailors shouting, not in fear now, but awe. They've just witnessed a God's mercy, and they know it. And as I sink deeper, the light fades. My limbs grow heavy, my thoughts slow. Maybe this is how it ends, I think. Maybe that's the mercy, not wrath, but release. But the ocean isn't finished with me yet. Something moves in the dark, massive, deliberate, older than fear itself. The water shivers around it. I turn, and for an instant I see nothing but a wall of flesh, scales glinting faintly in the dying light. And then it opens. The mouth, vast, silent, a living cave. You don't even have time to scream. The water rushes, dragging you forward, and suddenly everything is teeth and shadow and the sound of your own heart. And then nothing. Silence. Wait. Darkness that feels alive.
Darkness isn't what you expect. You think it'll be empty, but it isn't. It moves, it hums, it breathes. Inside the fish you can feel the ocean, not as water, but as a slow rolling heartbeat. The air tastes thick, like iron, salt, and something ancient. You reach out, expecting slime, teeth, or worse, but the walls around you are smooth, like polished leather, slick but warm. You shift, trying to sit upright, and realize you can't tell up from down. Your sense of balance dissolves, replaced by a strange rhythm. Sway, contract, release. The living pulse of the creature carrying you. So this is it, you think. Not drowned, not dead, just kept. Historians still argue whether the great fish was a whale, a shark, or something poetic, a metaphor for transformation. Some say the Hebrew word dag gadol could mean any vast sea creature. Others point to regional myths, where gods and heroes alike are swallowed to be reborn. Me, I didn't have the luxury of interpretation. I was there, breathing recycled air and wondering what repentance smells like. You try to pray, but the words stumble. Every time you open your mouth, you taste the sea again, bitter and humbling. You start small. I cried out, you whisper, and you heard me. The sound of your voice feels foreign in this strange cathedral of flesh. It echoes back at you, swallowed by the living walls. You can't see your hands, but you can feel them trembling. Then comes the strangest thing of all, calm. The fish doesn't move much, it just drifts. You begin to sense that you're being carried, not punished. It's not death, it's delay, a pause between disobedience and redemption. You lean your head against the wall or stomach or whatever this is and imagine what's happening outside, the ocean still above. Maybe a few curious sharks circling. Maybe silence so complete it could break your mind if you listen too long. But inside there's a rhythm, and that rhythm becomes your clock. Time stretches like the creature's slow pulse, unhurried, endless. You lose track of how long you've been here. Hours, days. There's no hunger, no thirst, no sleep, not in the way you know it, only waiting. You start to talk aloud just to hear yourself. You tell stories to the darkness, about your childhood, about the warmth of sunlit streets in Gath Hefer, about the smell of figs after rain. You even joke once or twice, because if you don't laugh, you might forget how to. So this is where prophets come to think. Not a mountaintop, not a vision, just digestion. Somewhere deep inside, a ripple answers. The fish shifting, maybe in amusement, maybe in sympathy. You remember what you told the sailors, that the Lord made both the sea and the dry land. You'd said it with pride, like a scholar citing a creed. But down here it feels different. The sea isn't an abstract anymore. It's a body, and you're inside it. Historians debate whether Jonah's prayer was literal or symbolic, whether it describes an inner transformation or an outer miracle. Theologians can argue all they like, but when you're kneeling in a stomach that feels like the world's slowest heartbeat, everything feels symbolic. You whisper again, "You threw me into the deep, yet you brought up my life from the pit." A tremor passes through the fish, and for a moment you imagine it's listening. You imagine that even in the belly of this thing, heaven can still hear you. The thought both comforts you and terrifies you. Sleep comes and goes in fragments. Sometimes you dream you're still falling through water. Sometimes you dream of dry land, not Nineveh yet, but home. The smell of cedar, the texture of woven cloth, familiar things that seem impossibly far away. You wake, or think you do, to a sound like thunder. The fish groans, twisting. You brace yourself, pressed against the inner wall, heart racing. Then it steadies. "All right," you whisper, trying for humor. "I get it. I'll go to Nineveh." But even as you say it, you're not sure you mean it yet. You're still bargaining, still human, still Jonah. You wonder if anyone on the surface remembers you. Maybe the sailors told someone. Maybe they didn't. Maybe in a few weeks some child will find a bit of driftwood on the shore and not know it was once part of the ship that threw you overboard. Time folds in on itself. You begin to measure it in breaths. You talk to God more, though sometimes your prayers sound like questions and sometimes like jokes. You ask the dark, "Do you ever tire of all this drama?" No answer, just the endless sound of slow, steady breathing, yours and the fish, blending into one. By the end of the second day, if days still mean anything, something changes. The creature grows restless. Its body tenses, rippling around you. The air grows thinner, ranker. You press your palms against the wall, and it's vibrating. Not angrily, more like anticipation. A realization hits you. Your repentance might be real now. You stop talking. You just breathe. One word, again and again, becomes your anchor. Mercy. The creature surges forward, faster now. You feel it rise. The pressure shifts, your ears pop, and suddenly there's light. Faint at first, then blinding. You brace yourself as the body convulses once, twice, and you're gone. Thrown from darkness into brightness, gasping, blinking, sprawled on wet sand that smells like life. You lie there for a long time, coughing up sea water, feeling the sun on your face. It's too warm, too bright, too real, but for the first time in days, you're back in the world. And the voice you've been trying not to hear all along, it's waiting. Arise, Jonah, go to Nineveh.
The sun burns against your skin like it's trying to remind you what light feels like. You squint, blinking away the salt still crusted on your lashes. The shore stretches before you, pale, endless, and silent, except for the gulls that swoop and cry overhead, mocking or cheering. You can't tell which. You push yourself upright, the sand clinging to your arms. The sea glitters like a smug accomplice behind you. For a moment, you half expect it to open up again and swallow you back. One final joke from a very patient God. But it doesn't. It just shimmers there, calm and wide, pretending innocence. You sit for a while. You breathe. You think about everything that's just happened. The storm, the sailors, the plunge, the impossible survival. The belly of the fish feels like a fever dream now, but your clothes still smell like it, sour and briny. You don't have proof, but the proof is you. Somewhere in the distance, the outline of a road snakes through a patch of reeds. It leads inland, toward Nineveh. "All right," you mutter to the sea. "Message received." Historians still argue whether Jonah truly wanted redemption or simply feared judgment. Some say his obedience was reluctant, a prophet dragged, not led. You can't blame them for thinking that. Even now, with the sea behind you and dry land beneath you, your heart drags its feet. The command echoes again in your mind. Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city. You dust off your tunic and start walking. Each step feels heavier than the last, but also necessary. The land rises slowly, rolling hills dotted with scrub and fig trees. The air is warm and humming with insects. You pass streams that glitter like thin threads of silver. Everything feels too alive after so much darkness. You realize there's humor in it. You, the reluctant prophet, now marching toward the one city you swore you'd avoid. Couldn't you have just sent a letter? You mutter under your breath, or, I don't know, a nice dream. No reply, just the wind teasing through the reeds like laughter. You walk until the sea disappears behind you. Farmers appear along the way, tending to goats or plowing with wooden yokes. They glance up, curious. You must look like something washed out of a nightmare. Pale, gaunt, salt-streaked. You wave awkwardly, and one of them, an old man with a beard the color of smoke, waves back. Long journey ahead, he calls. You nod. To Nineveh. He whistles low. That's a hard city. Yeah, you sigh. I've heard. He squints, studying you. You don't look like a soldier. Not anymore, you reply, and keep walking before he can ask what you mean. The road winds through stretches of dry grass. Your sandals slap the dust rhythmically. A small sound in a vast silence. Somewhere overhead, a hawk circles, patient and lazy. The sun arcs westward, melting into amber. By evening you find a grove to rest in. You gather a few fallen figs and chew them slowly, grateful for something that doesn't taste like salt or regret. The shadows lengthen, and you catch yourself talking to the trees again. It's a habit now, talking to things that can't answer back. 3 days in a fish, you say softly, and here I am, free, walking back into trouble. Historians still debate the geography of this route, whether Jonah came ashore near Joppa or farther north. Either way, it's a long, dusty journey from sea to city. Some scholars even wonder if this delay was intentional, that the long walk was part of the lesson. Maybe transformation needs distance. Maybe redemption isn't just survival, it's what you do after. You lie back against a fig tree and stare at the sky. Stars begin to appear. First one, then another, then a slow cascade until the whole night hums with them. You think about the sailors again, about their faces when the sea calmed. They wonder if they told the story right. He said his God did it, then he vanished into a fish. You chuckle quietly. Yeah, that'll sound sane. But even in your laughter there's a warmth. You've changed, though you can't quite explain how. Maybe it's humility. Maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe it's knowing that you're not the main character in this story. Never were. The night breeze is soft. The air smells of figs and dust. You close your eyes and imagine the lake back home, the scent of earth after rain. It feels far away, but not lost. Tomorrow, you'll reach the city's edge, Nineveh, the empire's jewel, the place you swore to avoid. You'll walk its streets, see its walls, feel its pulse, and you'll deliver a message no one wants to hear. But for tonight, the earth is gentle and the stars are kind. You whisper a final thought before sleep takes you. If you still want me to speak, give me the words. The wind answers, not in thunder, not in fish bellies or storms, but in a sigh that feels almost like forgiveness.
By dawn, the world has turned gold again. The grass shimmers with dew, and a faint breeze slides across the plain, carrying with it the smell of clay and river water. You wake stiff but rested, stretching your arms as the sun climbs over the hills. The city waits somewhere beyond that horizon, Nineveh, vast and restless. You resume walking. The rhythm of your steps feels like a heartbeat, slow, steady, human. Somewhere deep inside, you can sense the quiet dread returning, the old reluctance gnawing at you again. But this time, you keep going anyway. Hours pass, the hills flatten into open fields, and there, rising out of the morning haze, you finally see it, the walls of Nineveh. Massive, sun-bleached, and crowned with towers that glint like bronze teeth. It's a city built for gods and kings, not wayward prophets. Even from a distance, you can hear it breathing. The hum of markets, the clang of forges, the low chant of worshippers. You pause to take it all in. You've never seen anything so alive. And yet, beneath the beauty, something uneasy stirs. The stories were true. The cruelty, the decadence, the arrogance. You feel it before you even step inside. "All right," you whisper. "Let's see how this goes." Historians still argue whether Jonah entered through the western gate, the largest one, or slipped in through a smaller passage like a thief of prophecy. Either way, the city greets you with noise and dust. You pass through the gate's shadow and into the chaos. The streets are wide, paved with uneven stone. Merchants shout from stalls heavy with figs, olives, dyed cloth and bronze trinkets. Donkeys bray. Children run barefoot, chasing each other through the crowd. Somewhere nearby, a man hammers copper into a bowl, the rhythm sharp and hypnotic. The air is thick, smoke, spice, sweat, and above it all, painted murals and carved reliefs tell stories of kings slaying lions, of gods demanding sacrifice, of wars won by divine favor. You can't help but feel small. A woman selling bread eyes you curiously. "You're not from here," she says, voice sharp as a blade. I shake my head. "Just passing through." She raises an eyebrow. "No one just passes through Nineveh." I smile faintly. "Guess I'm the exception."
She shrugs, uninterested, and turns back to her customers. You move on. Each step feels heavier. You know what you have to say, but your throat is dry, your carriage fragile. Still, the command rings clear in your mind. Proclaim the message I give you. So you stop in the middle of the street, right between a spice seller and a man leading 2 camels, and you speak. 40 days more, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. The words hang in the air like a spark in dry grass. People stop. Heads turn. A boy snickers. A merchant frowns. Someone mutters, "Who is this dusty stranger shouting doom before breakfast?" You take a breath and say it again, louder this time. 40 days more, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. And something strange happens. Instead of laughing, the crowd listens. The noise of the market dims just slightly. A few people whisper to each other. Some cross themselves in the old way, fingers brushing their foreheads. Others just stare, uncertain. Historians still debate whether Jonah's message spread through word of mouth or divine amplification. But either way, it travels. From stall to stall, from street to street, the rumor grows. A prophet has come from the sea. By noon, the city is buzzing with it. You retreat to a quiet alley, heart pounding. You didn't expect them to listen. You expected mockery, stones maybe. Instead, there's curiosity, fear even. "Really?" you mutter skyward. "That's all it took?" But the answer comes not from heaven, but from the sound of footsteps. A soldier's, heavy and urgent. He stops before you, eyes sharp beneath a bronze helm. "You, the prophet," he says. You hesitate. "That depends who's asking," he replies. "The king." "Oh, well, that escalated quickly." They lead you through the winding streets toward the palace, an enormous structure of white stone and cedar beams. Murals of winged bulls and gods with sunbursts for crowns stare down as you walk. Every inch of the place screams power. Inside, the air smells of incense and cool stone. The king sits high on his throne, draped in linen and gold, his face unreadable. "You are the one speaking doom?" he asks. Your voice catches for a moment, but you nod. "Yes, the word of the Lord, 40 days more, and Nineveh shall be overthrown." The court murmurs. The king raises his hand for silence. He studies you for a long moment, eyes narrowing, as if he's measuring not your words but your conviction. Then he arises. "If your God speaks, then we must listen." He removes his crown just like that and sets it on the ground. "We will fast, we will repent, perhaps he will have mercy." The court gasps. You blink. That's not the reaction you expected. Outside, the decree spreads fast. From nobles to beggars, from merchants to shepherds, the people of Nineveh put on sackcloth. Even the animals are covered in ashes. The city becomes a living act of humility. You watch from the palace steps as the transformation unfolds. The streets grow quiet. The markets close. The air feels lighter. You should be overjoyed. This is what prophets dream of: instant success, repentance, redemption. But instead, something unsettles you.
Maybe it's how easily they turned. Maybe it's that you wanted justice, not forgiveness. You sigh and whisper, "You're too merciful, aren't you?" The wind shifts. A cool breeze slides through the city, soft, almost like laughter again.
The next morning, the city is still silent. No laughter, no haggling, no music from the taverns that once pulsed with noise late into the night. Even the animals seem subdued, oxen lying in the dust, goats staring blankly, as if they too sense something sacred passing over the land. You stand on a rooftop, gazing over the expanse of Nineveh. From here, the city looks almost peaceful. Smoke from 1,000 small fires curling into the pale sky, the Tigris glinting beyond the walls like a slow-moving ribbon of glass. The air feels different now, thinner, lighter. The weight of judgment that once pressed on your chest seems to have lifted, and yet, instead of joy, a knot tightens in your stomach. Because deep down, you know what's coming. You've seen it before, not destruction, but mercy. The kind that feels unfair when you're the one who wanted thunder and fire. "Lord," you mutter, "I knew you'd do this." Your voice echoes off the rooftop tiles. You look toward the heavens, squinting into the light. I knew you'd be gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, abounding in love. That's exactly why I didn't want to come here in the first place. You pause, half expecting a lightning bolt to answer, but the sky remains silent, just blue, endless, and annoyingly peaceful. Down below, the people are still fasting. Children sit quietly beside their parents. Even the dogs have stopped barking. The king himself kneels in ashes outside the palace, lips moving in silent prayer. You can almost feel God's forgiveness spreading across the city like dawn. And suddenly, it's too much. You turn and head for the eastern gate, fists clenched. If Nineveh won't burn, you'll at least get some distance from the smoke of their repentance. The road beyond the gate is dry and open, stretching toward a line of rocky hills. You walk until the city shrinks behind you, until all you can hear is the whisper of wind and the faint hum of insects in the grass. There, on a rise overlooking Nineveh, you stop. The sun is fierce now, beating down without mercy. You build the small shelter out of sticks and palm leaves, just enough shade to sit beneath. You slump against the rough trunk and stare at the distant skyline. "Let's see how long this mercy lasts," you mutter. Hours pass, the heat deepens, sweat slides down your neck, and the shade shrinks with the moving sun. You doze off for a while, dreaming of waves and salt and darkness, the familiar cradle of the sea. When you wake, something has changed. Overhead, broad green leaves stretch like a canopy. A vine, A fast-growing, miraculous thing has sprouted beside your shelter. Its stems twist upward, leaves as wide as your palms, shading your face completely. The air cools instantly. You lean back and laugh softly. Okay, you admit, that's a nice touch. For the first time in days, you relax. The breeze hums through the leaves, insects drone softly, and the city glows faintly in the distance. You close your eyes, lulled by the rustle of the vine and the gentle warmth of mercy, a mercy you still don't understand. Historians still argue what species that plant could have been. Castor oil plant, bottle gourd, maybe something divine and long extinct. But whatever it was, it felt like a gift. A personal whisper from God saying, I see you, rest a little. And for a day you do. The next morning, though, the air feels strange again, dry, restless. You wake to the sound of crackling leaves. The vine droops, its green fades to brace. A small worm, almost invisible, chews methodically through the stem. By noon, the shade is gone. The sun returns in full force, white and merciless. The east wind picks up, hot as a furnace blast. Sand stings your eyes, the world swirls with dust and heat shimmer. You cover your head, but it's no use. Sweat runs into your eyes, your tongue sticks to the roof of your mouth. You slump forward, dizzy. You say, enough, just let me die. And then comes that familiar voice, not booming, not distant, gentle, patient. It says, Jonah, is it right for you to be angry about the plant? You squint toward the sky, frustration spilling out. Yes, angry enough to die. The wind pauses, as if even the air itself is waiting for what comes next. And then the answer, not harsh but steady, cutting right through the heat. You are concerned about this plant, though you did not labor for it, nor make it grow. Should I not be concerned about Nineveh, that great city, with more than 120,000 people who do not know their right hand from their left? You freeze. The words hang heavy, slow and final. The world seems to quiet all at once. The wind softens, the glare fades, and for a long moment all you hear is your own breathing. You look toward Nineveh again, that vast, imperfect city now shimmering like a mirage on the horizon. You imagine them laughing, rebuilding, feeding their children. The same people you wanted punished are now forgiven. And maybe that's the point. You sink back into the dust, eyes closing. The vine's dead leaves flutter beside you like small papery ghosts. And as the light softens into evening, something inside you too eases, a slow, reluctant surrender. Forgiveness, you realize, was never meant to make sense. The sun dips low. Crickets start their quiet chorus. You breathe out, long and even. Maybe you'll head home tomorrow. Maybe not. But for now, the story rests here, on a dusty hill east of a city that learned mercy, and the prophet still learning it.
And so, as the day folds into night, the world around you cools again. The desert wind softens, the stars begin to appear. Quiet, steady lights scattered like promises across the dark. You lie back in the sand, watching the first one blink to life above the fading glow of Nineveh's walls. The city sleeps. The people dream, perhaps of new beginnings, or of the strange, salt-haired prophet who walked out of the sea to tell them their story wasn't over yet. You close your eyes, feeling the last warmth of the sun still resting on your skin. The earth hums softly beneath you, and somewhere far away the sea breathes, slow, patient, eternal. Maybe tomorrow you'll understand everything that happened. Maybe not. But tonight, you can let go of the questions. The waves, the worm, the vine, the mercy. They're all part of the same rhythm. You inhale deeply, exhale slowly. The air smells faintly of dust and rain, as if something new is on its way. The stars shimmer, the crickets keep time, and your heartbeat slows to match the quiet world around you. Rest, Jonah. Rest, listener. The story has done its work.